Greetings, foolish mortals, and welcome to a very special episode of Inches and Cubes. This week, we will be guiding you through all things chaos. So hold on to your purity seals, because it's me, Point and Click Nick.
It's me, Paul, Mr. Fist Fowler.
Me, Adam the Truest Axe.
So say a prayer to the Emperor, hold your soul stones tight, and hold on to your butts.
It's a lot of things to hold on to.
I mean, it's got a lot of hands.
All right. So we're back for episode 24. Today we're going to be talking about the 4 Chaos Gods, where they come from, their motivations, and yeah.
Yeah, just the idea of the 4 Chaos Gods, because we've touched on them in various episodes, and we realize that they're such an important part of the background, of the model design, of the just ethos and actual DNA of the game, that they deserve their own kind of moment to flex on us.
Speaking of DNA of the podcast.
Did I say podcast or game?
You said game.
I said game.
Yeah.
So this is Duplicitous. It's a Citra dry hop sour from Nickelbrook, and it's a soured light beer, which isn't really a sour, it's a soured light beer. So I'm interested to see what this tastes like. Nickelbrook is in Burlington, apparently.
Yeah, I like Nickelbrook. I love Naughty Neighbor.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's all over the place, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just a good beer. What's the other one? Cause and Effect?
Yeah, also a good one.
Yeah.
But I imagine this is not one you see on all of the shelves.
It's pretty new to the shelves. I also picked it up for tonight because I'm just tired of catching hell for not trying sours enough. So I was like, this looks like I could like that.
It's a sour beer.
Yeah, I don't hate it. There's not. See, I like this because it's not a sour with another flavor.
Right.
This is just this is kind of salty. This is kind of.
I get you.
Yeah.
We stand before you accused of deception in the name of innovation. This delightfully crisp gosé is bursting with bright citra hops, and yet no bitterness. We claim it was brewed with coriander and Himalayan sea salt, and yet it finishes with a refreshing tang. This beer is the culmination of our love of hops, sourness, and a little bit of scientific trickery. Deceitfully delicious.
I mean, I would love to know why Himalayan sea salt is better than sea salt, better than salt.
We've talked about this on the podcast before, I think.
Yeah, density.
At least it's not pink Himalayan sea salt.
Yeah.
It's just Himalayan sea salt.
True. But
Though it doesn't have to be called pink Himalayan sea salt to be pink.
No.
But it could just be sea salt. Also, they quite literally say they claim.
Yes.
So, who knows?
I actually spent 30 minutes in a salt pool a couple weekends ago.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Is that Nordique?
Yeah, Nordic Spa.
So good.
It's awesome. I wouldn't ever do the salt pool again.
What?
I did not enjoy it.
Really?
Why not?
I don't know. It was kind of boring. And
It was a strange experience. I literally fell asleep in water. And when I woke up, it was
Is
almost...
it like a float tank?
yeah,
You just go in, the lights are super dim, there's
Yeah,
a
sign me up
chill,
for that.
but it's not you're not alone. So the minute anybody else moves in the pool,
Oh, no. Give me a sensory deprivation tank. I want to get weird.
it was cool.
Let's go Stranger Things on this.
So yeah, we're gonna do our normal segments.
Yeah. I'm going to be really quick this time around. You want to do games played?
Yeah,
I have not played any games.
me neither.
I don't think I've played games. I think it's been a hard detox from games.
Adam's blown up.
Yeah, Adam's left his phone on, like Hollywood. Did everyone just check their ringer settings?
Yes.
Yeah, no, after the Hogtowner, I just, took some time for me.
Yeah, I have a 30K game against Colin for the Escalation League.
Yeah, I'm playing Alexander Albuquerque next week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That'd be a good game.
A guy whose name I absolutely love to say.
I've asked him if it's straight up Albuquerque, and he sighs and says yes.
Yeah, I feel like it's... we don't need to belabor the guy's name. He's a great dude.
Who are you matched up against this month?
Chaz, so I have to get my game in tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
It ends tomorrow.
Oh, no, for the 40K league.
A 40k league.
Yeah, my Chaz, Chaz isn't playing 40k.
Nah,
No. Yeah, this is the 30k escalation league.
Yeah. I'm playing Colin tomorrow.
I'm matched up against Mackenzie Farwell.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. What kind of stuff did Alexander bring to the Hogtowner?
He brought that really cool like infantry guard list.
Oh, right.
So a couple Lehman Russes, I think a couple pieces of artillery, and then lots and lots of guardsmen and heavy weapons teams.
Okay, so my autocannon list is not going to do well against him.
Well, I mean, it'll tear everything else up.
Do your heavy bolter squad, bro.
I haven't been able to find heavy bolters.
Do you want heavy bolters?
Dang.
Yes.
Remind me before we leave. I got a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Pre-heresy ones.
Yep.
Okay.
From Calth or
Yeah, Prospero or
something.
one of them. But yeah, no games played for any of us because we were facing eyes into a shit ton of games and planning them. So maybe get off our back, hypothetical listener that's mad about this.
Yeah. I mean, like the last podcast we did was just literally 12 battle reports.
Yeah, which was insane. And I'm not entirely sad that was the episode that I decided to take a mental health break on. Though, Nick, dude, Snoke has a nose, and both Adam and you laughed at the idea of stone boats when boats can be made of metal, which is much heavier than other things that boats are sometimes made of.
Make me a stone boat.
I will. That's going to be my summer project.
And little tiny rocks don't count.
Nuts. Very small rocks. Yeah. What about hobby progress?
Yeah, so I've embarked on a cool conversion mission. I'm slowly gathering all the pieces to make this vision a reality. So I saw a really cool conversion online where someone converted Alaris Custodes Terminators into Noise Marine Obliterators. And I'm going to take it to the next level. Paul, I wanted to ask you if you had some, well, I guess both of you, because you both play guitar, some old guitar strings
Tons.
kicking around.
Yep.
So I'm going to get the Alaris Terminators. I got the bodies coming from a bit stealer. Got a whole bunch of sonic weapons, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to start drilling into faces, put guitar strings like going out into the chest, coming out the backpack, going into like speakers on the shoulder, and then into the sonic weapons that they're all going to be carrying.
Nice.
So it's going to be a mix of like kind of corrupt, but also like very regal,
Yeah.
like Custodes looking.
I think that'll be really nice when she slaps some, just like purple on there. But you're gonna have to up your purple game now because there's gonna be a lot of purple details raised.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Oh, those models are.
I'll get it done.
Oh yeah.
And then I also assembled Zardsnark the Ripper, finally. I think it was last week. I just sat down for
Gesundheit.
5 hours, and I hate working with resin. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And I don't miss you.
I like resin, man. I don't hate it.
No, there was... yeah, it's great because it captures all these crisp details, but he's riding on his bike. His right hand's holding on to the handlebars, and his left hand is like a spinning power blade that's hooked up to a belt drive that goes from like his forearm to his shoulder, which then hooks into the jet engine on the back.
Of course.
But there's actually the belt drive pieces are just so flimsy, so they broke when I was putting it together, and I basically had to make a plastic card radial belt drive. It's gonna look fine once I get some paint on it, but
Yeah.
it was
Like,
a challenge.
Just paint it black and then like throw some weathering patterns on it.
Yeah,
It'll look
exactly.
legit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's my hobby progress.
What about you, Adam? You seem like you got a bunch.
Oh, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
mang!
I painted lots of things.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, so in terms of 40k, I wrapped up the Custodes commission I was working on. So that was
Yeah.
delightful.
Yeah. Nick, come on, man.
So I did up... Should we new track it for you?
No, it's fine.
I went into the other room to be quiet.
No, you just went into the other room. Anyways.
I'll blow my nose right next to the mic next time.
Sure.
Then he'll be able to find the spike
Yeah.
in the volume. Yeah. So anyways, 15 Custodes bikes, 8 Alaris Terminators, 5 regular duders on foot, and the Alaris Captain of the Banner, and then 2 Shield Captains on foot. It's crazy.
No
It's
shield captains on bikes.
3 shield captains on bikes.
Of course,
but-
yeah.
So
Yeah.
12 regular bikes, 3 shield captain on bike.
Sure. That sounds super fun to play against. I can't wait. Super cool.
Yeah, and for September, I'm painting him up his guard regiment command point battery.
You're a bad man.
No, I just enable bad men.
There's no difference. Morally, there is literally no difference.
I just make bad men look good.
Again. Whatever. We don't need to get into that. That's
Sorry,
all.
he's in Florida, so we'll never have to play him. But actually, one of the cool things was, and I don't think I got this on the last podcast because I did them right at the end, was finally put all the bikes on bases, and he ordered these really cool clear flying stands that were about your pencil in diameter.
Everyone take out a standard number 2 HB graphite pencil, and that's about the thickness of the clear acrylic.
Yeah, that's it. The whole army was on these cool, like, runic-looking stone resin bases, and so it was a little bit of a task, but I took out my drill and just, like, drilled straight through these resin bases, which was a little bit painful, too, at the same time. It was like, oh, this beautiful base, and just... but it was actually really cool, because they're just nice, thick pieces of plastic. You know they're not going to break. And they had magnets that were the exact same width of it. That easily went in the bottom of the Custodes biker and then easily fit right on top of the plastic peg.
Yeah, why GW is so married to spindly little acrylic stands, I don't know.
It's like the flyer base that I got for my Corvus.
Yeah.
Is just like my favorite thing in the world, because it's just a plastic rod that is drilled through the resin base, and it's like, hey,
It's perfect.
it's perfect.
Hey, you know this, like, maybe upwards of $300 worth of model that you own in your Fire Raptor? Put it on this weird T thing that's super wobbly.
That will always break off of the base and nosedive you into the ground.
Don't worry, it's fine. Like, come on, guy, solve this. We're descended from smart animals.
The new flying stand is at least an improvement from no flying stand.
True.
The go make it yourself
Yeah.
flying stand.
The believe in yourself flying stand.
Yeah. So, yeah. The next iteration of flying stand will hopefully be even better.
Yeah, just make
That's how these things go.
thick.
Yeah.
Thick, dude. Thick.
So that was one really cool thing to kind of experience, and it's just a great little thing to have on the mind for when I ever do stuff like that. Like if you ever do Eldar Jet Bike Army or something like that, I don't know. Which was horrible in 7th and may still be horrible in 8th, but at least you don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just shining spears now.
Yeah.
I'm down with Shining Spear.
Yeah, why not?
I didn't have a whole lot of hobby I'm sorry, are you...
No, I'm not even close to done.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do
Do a beer.
a commercial break. This is a Norse Golden Ale.
Ooh.
I saw this in the LCBO today. I just had to pick it up. So, Norse Ale is a deliciously refreshing brew stemming from the influences of Old Norse. The word ale is related to the Norse word oil, I guess. It's an O with like the mark through it.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a cognate of an Old Saxon word, aloe, and the Danish and Norwegian and Icelandic and Old English word alu or ialu. Oh, I thought there were going to be more to that. Oh, this is from Noble, Ontario. Postal code POG 1GO.
Is that like the postal code for where Santa lives? HOHOHO.
What? What if I told you that just gets your letter to be sent back to the send-in address?
No. If you send a letter to HOHO, someone will write back to you.
I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, you never
They're
did that as a kid?
No, because by the time I had any interest in writing letters, I also was like, Santa Claus isn't real. I'm not doing this.
Do it this year just for funsies.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see what you get.
All right,
Just like write an explicit letter to Santa.
Yeah.
or just like a very like, Dear Santa, I'm not asking for a lot, but can you please use your crazy magic powers to sort out this, and this?
There you go.
All right, that's a good beer.
Yeah, shit, man, that's really good, actually. Stinky, kind of Trappisty.
Yeah. It's just a gold nail. It's got a great color to it.
Yep.
Love it.
Easy. And it fits right in with our theme of other Icelandic things to come later. So I also finished an entire Age of Sigmar Night Haunt army,
Yeah, okay.
which was pretty easy to paint, actually.
Just
It was-
out of the box.
yeah, it was the starter set plus... I think the starter set only comes with 4 of what are called, not Glaive Wraith Stalkers, the other ghost dudes with scythes.
Sure.
And so 20 of those guys. And Lady Ollander, which is
Yeah, that's
she's a beautiful model.
Yeah, again, you need to get the extra spookums off of her for my tastes, but it's a cool looking thing.
Yeah. So Lady Ollander, the other character on a crazy undead horse with wings. I forget his name right now.
Yeah.
And 4 of the Banshees. What else? And
I like looking at the photo on your phone. I don't.
they're
even know.
like all the same.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know what I'm looking at.
Yeah, Ghost A, Ghost B. So a bunch of chain rasps, which are basically your little ghosts. The dudes with scythes, which are your like Terminators of ghosts. Just your marine equivalent. Let me explain the Age of Sigmar to you.
Thank you.
So your Terminator ghosties, and then he added on this special character, easy to build kit, which are like ghosties that carry around these crazy big chain flail things that are these huge locks on the end of chains. And
That's kind of, like I like the imagery, and I like the models. Just like looking at them all painted, though, I was like, that doesn't make me want to do it. Because like I feel like they fill the same sort of hobby role for me that Necrons would, where it will be like, learn a technique, apply it to a whole army, goodbye.
basically, yeah. Especially when Necrons first came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was fun. Paul, you and I were talking before the podcast about doing multiple layers of colored washes just to see what kind of neat effects you can get.
Yeah.
And I tried that again on this army as well as the Custodes. So the Custodes were the purple and Agrax. This was blue and Nuln Oil. And you just get some neat color tones. It's fun to watch the colors interact with each other.
It adds like a lot of depth, and I find like not so much with the GW washes, but if you go off-brand, you're gonna end up with like weird alchemy recipes where you're like, I take this blue color and I hit it with purple, and now I have a great brown. It's like, oh, cool, you're a witch. Or also, you understand how additive colors work as opposed to subtractive colors work. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
But it's somewhere.
Yeah, it's super fun.
So I just like, there's 2 models that actually have like candles and fire on them, and they just like painting them red. I painted this whole army essentially the blue wash on all the black cloaks because it like a nice blue tone, but then they're all kind of ethereal ghosty colors like teal, turquoise, and then just the like couple models with the red fire.
Yeah,
just like really stand out, which is really cool.
Yeah, they really pop.
So that was fun. And then I painted 5 Age of Sigmar dudes for myself without bases yet, but I took 5 Stormcasts and kind of did a test scheme. Things seemed to go well. Did like a new technique on my gold.
Yeah, I really like that in your gold. I honestly, for your bases, I would just go like super dry, dusty, like beige. Because like,
could be good.
Yeah, you don't really want to fight against the gold tones.
Yeah. Nick G was, I sent him pictures, said, dude, help me with my bases because you got beautiful bases.
Yeah.
And he was like, recommended like a kind of like a dusty gray flagstone.
Yeah.
Multiple layers of flagstone.
Okay.
Oh, that would be perfect, actually.
With some like green flower tufts and stuff.
Yep.
Should be neat. So I may head that direction.
So we're all playing Age of Sigmar.
Not me.
Yeah, you are.
I know.
You're gonna get the Night Haunt.
No.
Would you do ghosties?
I mean, I might. I just
Connor starting Lizardmen.
looking at that whole army, like I would have to take a very different approach.
And you easily could.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is me like I'm getting paid X amount of dollars, and so
Yeah.
I'm going to paint it in a way that's easy and effective for me.
I feel like the special characters you can really do completely different.
Yeah.
Totally.
And even the different ghosts.
Because, like, looking at them, I would want to do all... Instead of, like, going ethereal, I would want to go, like, rags.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they have a corporeal form, and they're just, like, moving moving bones and shit,
that's a
as
cool
opposed to like the Frighteneers, which also cool, like looks really cool. But I just
Did you see Lucas's stuff?
no.
No, he did the Banshees and just painted them like normal. The Banshees are the ones with essentially no body.
Yeah.
I think they just have the arms, so I think it was just an excuse to like get the swords
Yeah.
not floating in midair. But they're without heads, which is really neat. And you see the form of their head through the cloth that's over their face.
That's really cool.
And he like did this neat thing with. So they're very gray, kind of like those are, but without the blue glow. They got this neat thing with like this red kind of shot up with the airbrush on them. So there's this like red like forming the face.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'll see if I can pull it up for you on the break.
You know
Like if
what?
you're pointing a flashlight underneath your face at night
Oh
by a
man,
campfire.
you'd be able
kind of like that.
You'd be able to do that really easily with overbrushing.
Sure,
Yeah,
whatever that is.
just like it's kind of like dry brushing but wetter.
Yeah, something like that. As
Yeah.
long as you get it
Wet
to like
brushing.
blend in nicely.
Yeah,
Because I find my early stages of lighting, what is it called?
yeah, like
Object source lighting.
yeah,
Looked
with-
like ketchup on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just slapped on a model. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that would be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah. So is that all of your?
I'm done now.
Yeah, I didn't get a whole lot done, though. I did do important work. Two things: a lot of maintenance repairs on my Imperial Fist, like just noticing like bolters missing, guys loose on their bases.
It happens.
Yeah, so I like spent a couple hours kind of going through and touching up stuff and realizing that I had completely forgot to seal like 2 units. So I was like, did that. And then I was talking to Paul Carvanis, and he's like doing that like remove things from your life that don't bring you joy, which as a philosophy, it's like, well, that's pretty easy to say. So I've just been like going through a lot of my unbuilt models and just being realistic with myself. Like, am I ever gonna do this? So eventually, I'm just gonna dump a bunch of unbuilt kits up on Hogtown and be like, give me money for these.
Mm-hmm.
You want to buy 6 23-year-old orc buggies?
Literally nothing would make me angrier in the world. So yeah,
Oh, speaking of which, Speed Freaks announcement.
That's why I want to get rid of the old orc
so
buggies.
good.
you're not gonna ever move them.
No, I know.
Yeah, not now.
Nope.
A week ago, a day ago, you would have.
Yeah, now they're just gonna be weights.
I might just make them orc bikers now.
You
Sure.
should.
They're the same size.
The dudes riding them are not the same size, but yes, the
models
model
are
is.
like, you're like they're orcs, so
Yeah,
come at me. Anyone ever complains about orc model size, just be like,
gotta help.
Get out.
Yeah, get out.
Yeah.
Did they?
Get out of here.
Did you watch the video they released?
Yes, it was great.
Oh, so good.
It's just like a Lincoln
car?
Town Car commercial.
Yeah, so good.
It was great.
You should do with your buggies what they did with that buggy.
Smash it and get a new one magically? Yes, I agree.
That's it.
Magic?
If I sacrifice all these old models, Games Workshop will give me new ones.
Well, Gorka Morka bless me with a new.
Cork or Mork. Yeah, but so yeah, that was my hobby progress. Just maintenance work, and yeah, it was needed to be done.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes
sure.
you gotta do those things.
yeah, and then like spent most of the last couple of weeks like just doing stuff in my life outside. It's amazing.
Outside of Warhammer
Yeah,
and getting high on primer and
yeah. Did you know that like you
Super
could just
good.
do whatever you want? It's insane.
almost.
This summer went by so... I feel like July didn't happen.
No, we did not have a July.
Like, July was just... Oh, it's August. It's like... Oh, shit.
Yeah, and now it's halfway through August.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You're getting older now.
Oh no. Oh heavens. Alright, well, do you guys want to take like a real quick break and come talk about some four gods?
Yes.
Cool. See you in a bit.
Hello, everybody. This is Adam,
And I'm Jay,
and we are in Counter Wargaming.
and we wanted to celebrate hitting our 1,500 subscribers and give back to all of you who helped us get here.
Super exciting. So we call this the 2,500 subscriber Forgebane giveaway.
That's right, because we're giving away a Forgebane box.
Woo!
But in order to give it away, we have to hit our 2,500 subscriber goal.
Makes sense. All right, so first things first. Share this.
Share the podcast with your friends.
Share our videos.
Yeah.
Share anything you want. So there you go. Multiple ways to enter.
Right.
Number 1.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Woohoo! That'll get you 1 entry. Number 2. Follow on Twitch for 1 more entry.
Also, you can support us on our Patreon campaign, and that'll get you 5 entries.
Wow. All right. And hey,
Crazy.
guess what? If you subscribe on Twitch, you get 5 more entries.
Damn. And lastly, for all of you who are listening to the podcast right now, go on and leave us a review, and we'll get you 1 more entry.
Bonus. Guys, this is a big thank you for all the support that you have given us over the last couple years.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone out there for making this a wild ride for us. Hopefully we can give one of these boxes to one of you lucky people.
Sweet. Hey, remember to share, and we will see you at our next encounter. Battle Brothers Studios is a commission painting studio in Toronto, Canada. We want you to walk into the battlefield looking your best. So, if you're having trouble getting all your minis painted, or are in a big rush to get some stuff done for that next event, then let us know. Facebook.com/Battle Brothers Studios for a free quote, and inquire also about our 2018 deals. This year, running a 10% discount on any new release item from any miniature company. That's pretty cool, so send us a message.
G'day. How are you now? Tried to paint a mini the other day. Realized my brushes were drier than a Saskatoon field in May. So I did what any reasonable man in his mid-30s would do, and I hopped over to thewarpainter.com to resupply. Thewarpainter.com is Canada's greatest hobby store for all things hard to find. Scale 75, Broken Toad, The Army Painter, and Valet Ho. All supporters of Encounter Wargaming get 10% off their first order with the code EWG10. They got you covered.
Ooh.
God, he opened a beer right over his phone like
And
a
book.
maniac.
And you know what?
And it foamed up. Oh,
It's a good thing we did it second, because I just remembered to. I was like, oh, I got to put these in the fridge, and hopefully they'll ignore them for the first round. Because right when I pulled up, they like both fell off the seat on the floor and just shook up. Anyway, so I'm rolling with the theme. I was in Ottawa recently and asked our buddy Marco from thewarpainter.com, whose commercial you just heard, what cool microbreweries I should hit up, and he sent me a list of 3 of his favorites, and so I went to all 3.
nice.
And this one is from Beyond the Pale, which I don't know if it's a play on like them starting just making beer in like little plastic buckets, and like now they're actually a thing, like a real microbrewery or not.
Different pale.
Yeah. P-A-I-L.
Yeah, but still, could be like a double entendre. Know what I'm saying?
Now see?
Anyways, which one is this? This is the Pale Ale Project.
Oh, I love a pale ale.
There you go. So they believe in some fun, and beer should be fun to make. And so they say they're really good at this. That is the only copy on this one.
I went to Ottawa, not the weekend that just happened, but last weekend, the August long weekend, and I forgot how much I miss living in that city. I wish I had money when I wasn't just a poor student when I was living there.
Yeah.
But like we went to the Nordic Spa, we went to the Diefenbunker, which was super cool.
I love the Diefenbunker.
I'll top you up when that comes down.
I have one of their like emergency pamphlet things, just like kicking around somewhere in my house.
Yeah. But it was so funny to just be like, yeah, this bunker was obsolete in like 2 years.
Yeah, because like nuclear weapons got better.
Yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, you'll have 45 minutes to evacuate Parliament Hill and the federal government to this place that's an hour outside of Ottawa. And then they're like, actually, no, it's 3 minutes now.
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes to evacuate. And the bunker was built to save gold. It
Yeah.
wasn't even designed to save people. It was about to get all of Canada's gold reserves.
Well, like the bunker was also designed for the ministers and like the staff,
Yeah.
but no family.
No.
There were like designated going crazy rooms.
Yeah.
Hilarious. But that's not why we're here today.
We're here to talk about how good or maybe not as good, the Spear is.
Also, beyond the pale is a phrase referencing fences.
Oh, yeah?
A pale was originally one of the thin pieces of wood that you would build a fence out of. So beyond the pale is going outside of an established idea.
So that would, hence the fence that
Yep.
goes all the way around the can.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue, because humanity's downfall began when the first person erected the first fence.
Also, pale is the reason why you can get impaled. They share a common root. This has been Inches and Linguistics with Paul and Mr. Fist Fowler.
Okay.
Speaking of impaled,
You know who loves impaling stuff? Khorne.
All the Chaos Gods, if for different reasons.
Well,
So before we jump into specific gods, let's talk about the Chaos Gods as an idea.
yeah. They're the sort of understood, accepted explanation of what the Chaos Gods are the coalesced and sentient forms of the emotions of sentient creatures in the material universe.
Psychically attuned sentient
Psychically
creatures.
attuned sentient creatures that exist in the material universe.
Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Because I don't think they really have a lot of power outside of the Milky Way.
No, probably not. Which is still a pretty big preview. But yeah. So they're the reflection of the psychically attuned sentient beings' emotions, and they have kind of coalesced in the warp into realms of power and what would be functionally known as a god. And they can exert influence on the material world through possession, through rifts in the warp, through rituals, magic, spells, just like any old good demon-y things. So while not strictly demons, the way that you would understand them Christian Judeo way, they're functionally demons.
Well, demons spelt differently, right?
Yeah. So daemon is we've discussed this, an
Yeah.
air spirit that brings knowledge and shit. That's not what these guys do most times.
Yeah, sometimes they do.
Most times, three out of 4 times they don't.
No, definitely not. But they've always kind of driven the story and the narrative in the 40K universe. I mean, they're just the big baddies for the most part. They fight amongst each other as much as they fight humanity, and the Emperor's power actually stems from deals he made with them.
Spoiler alerts for those of you reading the Horus Heresy books.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah.
But they're a really cool idea. They allow a lot of narrative license in terms of, hey, guess what? The galaxy's now cut in half. Hey, guess what? This is a demon world where anything can happen. Hey, that guy who was okay and kind of bad, but was more like a revolutionary leader, now he's a demon.
Yep. Now he turns people inside out with crazy words that make your ears bleed. It's a terrible place to live, the 40K universe.
Yes.
Yeah, but I totally lost that train of thought.
some would say it's a dark Imperium.
A grim.
Grim dark.
Yeah, but the darker the Imperium, I feel like this is what Chaos... Because if we want to go back to Horus Heresy lore, when the Heresy was first starting, and the Cabal approached Alfarius and was like, hey, you need to help Chaos win to extinguish life in the galaxy to stop Chaos from winning in the long run. And they failed, and Horus lost. The Imperium descending into the madness that it is now, right? The Imperium's bad.
Yeah, but also I just feel like the authors wrote themselves into a corner with that dumb prophecy. There's no one's taken it up much since.
No, because it's over. That was the one chance, right?
Yeah.
That was the chance. My point was that the Imperium as it stands now feeds Chaos more than they could ever hope to defeat it.
Yeah, but that's would be said of literally any sentient life in the galaxy.
Yes.
So
Well, no, because you could pursue the path to peace, right? You could be like, we're going to eschew violence, we're going to eschew superstition, and we're going to tackle this from a scientific mindset. And if our bad manifestations of our emotions are what's feeding our great enemy, we're going to do some self-reflection,
my guy,
take some 10
my
deep
guy,
breaths,
the
and
chaos,
not kill everything.
the Chaos Gods would exist in the Star Trek universe, the post-scarcity, everyone gets along,
And they wouldn't be so powerful.
but they would get more powerful as they got powerful.
No.
Sure.
Their power waxes and wanes with the strength of their followers and what's going on.
Sounds like we need to read this letter from Richter Kless.
Who's Richter Glass?
There's this book we've mentioned in the podcast before, the Liber Chaotica. Anyways, he's this researcher in the old world of Warhammer Fantasy. I won't actually read the letter, but basically, he gets at this concept. I'd have to flip back to it, but he opens up with, forget what you have been told, right? Chaos is neither good nor evil. And he wants basically people to understand, and he gets at this kind of tough point that you're kind of getting at, right? Like, if chaos really is this manifestation of our emotions and our own sentience, like becoming, I don't know, reality or whatever, inside of the warp, or even, I guess the warp is this creation of this energy, right? Then where's the difference between your own mind and like what that reality is? And so as that reality grows, even if it has a little bit of power, it's then exerting that same power back on you. So if like anger is gathering in the warp, then the angry people become angrier because like there's this gathering of this anger in this like ethereal whatever reality. And so it's like almost a chicken and egg problem, and then you just can't ever get out of it because it exists already. And it exists the second that you're born.
Yeah, it's like
You can't.
It's like poor Ray trying not to think of anything harmful, and then he thinks of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and then that becomes harmful.
What a great movie.
Great reference. Good job, Paul.
So I'll read this last paragraph.
He is 100% a chaos being.
Gozer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hundo P. Like,
Don't
come on.
say that.
I'm saying it.
Said it.
I'll give you a hundo.
Been said.
A hundo P.
Connor, I'm going to need some backup on this one.
Here, let me read this last paragraph to you. So I say now, you who have chosen to question the received wisdom of others more ignorant than yourselves, to truly emancipate yourselves, you must accept that it is impossible to know where your self-control ends and the control of the gods begins. And similarly, where your own emotions and ideas end and the projected emotions and ideas of the chaos gods begin. For indeed, can there really be any difference between the two?
No, there cannot be.
Well, I mean, take out the word Chaos Gods and, like, replace it with the people you talk to. But we don't need to get, like, into the teleology of where identity lies. That's probably a bad idea. Right?
I mean, it could be fun.
Could be fun, but
But not
on
on the podcast.
Yeah, not on this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my response to that. I'm going to go have a brain aneurysm in the corner.
Sorry, dude.
But hence the struggle with what humanity is dealing with, right?
Yeah. It's
Like, how do we really defeat this? And is that the way? Right?
I don't think you can beat these guys with a hammer hard enough to beat them.
Yeah.
I think it's mindfulness, dude.
Mindfulness and just letting it go.
Oh, yeah, just like look inside yourself.
Be like, yo, Nurgle, give me your plagues.
Well, we'll get to Nurgle, but first up is Khorne. And Khorne is...
On the cob?
Wah, wah.
The band?
It flakes.
On the flakes?
On the flakes. Khorne's on the flakes. Man, that reminds me, why in that episode of Rick and Morty, when they find out that the entire planet is on the cob, they freak out? Like, there's no explanation for that joke, and I went looking. But yeah, so Khorne. It's the blood god, the Lord of Rage, the Skull Taker.
Sorry, did that keep you up at night?
Yeah. Like, these are the things that, like, keep me up. But
It's usually raccoons fighting outside for me.
Oh god, they sound like robots. But
It's unpainted toy soldiers for me.
yeah, just looking at them. But yeah, Khorne. We know him. We love him. He's
Big.
he's big.
He's red.
He's red. Is he Santa Claus?
Well done.
Yeah. So, the god of war, of violence and of slaughter, and one of the things that I think kind of gets overlooked, because he seems like the most simple of the gods. It's just like, hey, take this hammer and beat a guy's head in. Now you're like exalting Khorne, but it's a numbers game with Khorne. You got to get them numbers up, dude. Like
Skulls for the Skull Throne.
That's right. Like, no, that's rookie numbers. Pump them up. That's his deal. Just kill. But it needs to be a decent kill. It needs to be a challenge. It needs to be done well. You're exalting murder and martial prowess. There's a nobility to it in Khorne's eyes.
Not murder.
No,
More like
martial prowess.
yes.
So, like, if you're a blood mad slaughterer, Khorne wants you to be the best blood mad slaughterer you can be. Or if you're like,
Well, why is it that when a man kills another man in the heat of battle, he's a hero, but when he does it in the throes of passion,
okay,
he's a criminal?
you ever stab a man and watch the steam rise out of the wound? But yeah, so he's, it's war. It's a kind of a combination of the understanding that like the Greeks and Romans would have of Ares combined with Artemis. So Artemis was the god of like organized war, hunt, like, skillful thing, while Ares was more like this understanding of like wanton bloodlust and war and its associated like emotional state. So like one was done dispassionately, while one was done in the throes of passion. So much so that like Mars has two companions called Phobos and Deimos, which are fear and panic.
He's a was it the Iliad or the Odyssey where they were fighting at Troy and the gods came to help the Greeks defeat the Trojans?
Wouldn't be able to tell you.
I remember there's a great scene where Ares joins the fight.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just like, oh, the god of war is here. And then somebody actually like hits him and he just runs away really fast.
I gotta go. But yeah, so that's kind of Khorne's deal, is like slaughter, bloodshed, violence done well. It doesn't even have to be like hand to hand, which is kind of what we always think. Like a sniper just kind of doming a dude from like 1,000 yards away, that's gonna make Khorne happy. One of his most like famous servants is Lortara Sarin, the fleet master of the Conqueror, or the captain of the Conqueror and the fleet master of the
Crusade fleet, yeah. Paul's biggest crush.
Yeah, she's so hot. Of the World Eaters. She like so methodically and effectively conducted warfare that like Khorne like favors her, and she like even is able to mouth off to Agron and the rest of the World Eaters. Like they're like, hey, do this, and she's like, shan't. I've got an entire like population to wipe out. She's cool for that. Also, it's important to note that he's the oldest of the gods. While the gods have no definite beginning or end, they also have a beginning.
Well, you know the scene from 2001: A Space Odyssey when all the monkeys are hanging around the Black Obelisk and one of them picks up a bone and kills the other one?
Yeah.
Khorne was born then.
Yeah, but like that concept, that potential for violence always existed. So like, the time is a sticky wicket when it comes to the warp and the chaos gods. So
you have no concept of time in the warp.
No,
really,
it
hard
doesn't.
to imagine.
Yeah, like especially because of the way our dumb meat brains are set up.
What are you saying about my meat brain, bro?
It's dumb.
Time is a river.
There you go.
You can slow the flow. You can stop. You can dam the flow, but you can't stop the flow. It always goes forward.
I mean, for us,
Yes.
like, sure, because we're linear beings, man. I don't know why I'm so weird this episode, but yeah, the weak.
I'm glad you said this episode.
Yeah, the weak and the helpless, they're unworthy of Khorne's slaughter. But he just loves skulls and blood, so much so that his realm within the warp is known as the realm of brass and blood. And this is a landscape of like shifting violence at all times, like mountains erupting out of oceans of blood, rivers spurting out of plains of fire, just skulls everywhere.
Tuska the Demon Killer.
Yeah, it's just a like it's that Miltonic idea of hell where everything is hot and fire and dark and like violence and skulls and blood and everything, kind of like that.
Yeah, Khorne draws a lot of stuff from like modern interpretations of Satan.
Yeah,
Like the big red guy. Mm-hmm. He's got a whip. He whips people.
Yeah, it's definitely got like a sweet metal riff playing in the background, like really chuggy.
Like Pick of Destiny Satan.
Yeah, kind of, except more violent. Yeah, and so that's sort of his setup. His two rivals, the gods that he likes the least, are Slaneesh and Tzeentch.
Likes the least,
because they're brothers. They all get along. Because Slaneesh is the pursuit of pleasure, which you're kind of destroying with war, and Tzeentch is just wiggly fingers and scheming, and that's just too subtle for Khorne's thinking, as much as we can understand how a god would think. It's also fun to note that in the fluff, there's one of the apocalypse theories is that there's 8 ages of war, at which point Khorne will just like wipe all life out of the galaxy. And it's fun to think that we're also in 8th edition of the game, so the sacred number of Khorne. And yeah, so that's kind of Khorne in a nutshell. His followers the best. They're like the poster boys for the Chaos Space Marines. So Khorne Berserkers, that them and love them. They got those big bunny ears that no one's ever been able to explain to me why, what function they serve on a helmet.
Yeah, they've never. Yeah, and they're very post-heresy.
Yeah.
They're not, like the World Eaters never really did it.
Yeah, there's like a couple of pre-heresy models that have like sort of that thing happening where it's like a big sort of headdressy thing that comes out of the side of the helmet. And they like the T visor. It was like
the Boba Fett visor?
Yeah. That's got a specific name, but I don't remember what it is. Yeah, favored weapons, you're going to see axes, you're going to see swords, basically anything that like cuts and slashes and can take a skull. Whips show up every now and then. And yeah, that's sort of the Khorne like overview.
Well, they've got some of the coolest models that have gone through a lot of changes. So they had remember the old bloodletters? That were just dudes that like held their swords really, really close.
Yeah.
And now we've got the juggernauts of Khorne. Khorne Demon Princes.
Yeah.
Bloodthirsters.
Yeah, and one of the like through lines of those designs has always been anger and points, but sort of bestial things. There's not a lot of elegant, sleek Khorne models. I would hazard to say there are none.
I would say the Bloodthirsters are like they're built for war.
Yeah, there's
right?
like efficiency to the design, but there's not a sleekness. There's like slabs of muscle and just like corded hair, and like it looks really, really martial and just built for war. Brass will feature prominently. Skulls, because that's the prized part of another warrior. That's like domination of a warrior. I've taken your head. I've taken the seat of your thinking, and now it just clatters without identity on my belt.
I really love the Age of Sigmar mortal Khornate warriors, the new ones that they've come up with that have like the ball and chain, and even the Horus Heres, the World Eaters ones have the very same motif, right? They all have the gladiator weapons. So.
Yeah, the meteor hammer sort of thing.
Yeah, like really cool stuff.
Yeah, there's this great short story that I read in, I think Inferno, way back in the day, where it's like this Khorne warband, and it starts with like this young upstart like killing the current warband leader, and his like first decree when he puts on this like big helm of Khorne is like, we're going north, and like the entire story is how they like pillage and they run across other followers of Chaos, but they're not as strong as them, so they kill them and like absorb them into that tribe. until eventually, like, a young upstart in the tribe kills that guy, and then he's like, his first decree is, we're going south! And they just do the same thing. And that's basically Khorne's whole thing, where it's like, I don't know, man, just why don't you kill some people? Like, that'd be cool. So, yeah.
I just flipped over to the Khorne section of this book, just to look at some stuff. And this is his notes on rewards for the damned of Khorne. Nice. Gifts of arms, so you get, like, demonic weapons and stuff. Arms not being your physical arm with hands, but arms as in weapons. Mm-hmm. Gifts of beasts, so you get a little creature. Gifts of flesh, gifts of will, and gifts of title. And the gifts of will, I think, touches at that subtle nuance you were trying to point out about Khorne earlier. And so I'll just read this. So with these gifts of Khorne, they do move ever closer to the mental state of martial perfection in their misshapen minds, while they gain in skill with the sword and axe and bow. When battle is in the offing, they lose all rational thought and reason, and wish only to close with the foe and tear at them with whatever comes to hand. Yeah. And I thought it was neat too. One of the weapons in this book, because this is like old world fantasy, is a chainsword.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
Yeah,
it's a magic chainsword.
Yes,
it would be, wouldn't it?
Arcane is his description.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Who's next on the totem pole?
Well, the second born would be Tzeentch.
Cool.
And while Tzeentch gets ready, I'm gonna throw open a can of Cruiser all day pale ale. It's Amsterdam Brewery, and it's just a real nice pale ale. You can drink a million of them. And I think I've mentioned on the podcast how much I love their can art. Their motif is like a skeleton riding a bike, and then for Bone Shaker, that's referencing like an old kind of shitty metal frame bike that was nicknamed the Bone Shaker. And then they have Pale Rider, which is a cowboy, which is like, but he's also a skeleton.
Yeah.
So that's Amsterdam.
They, for the longest time, I just like used to loathe Amsterdam.
How come?
Because Amsterdam Blonde was like taking a shit in your own mouth.
when it was warm, if it was ice cold and you were already a couple beers in, you could have a couple pictures of that, no problem.
Yeah,
so
but
what you're saying is when you're drunk, you like shit in your own mouth?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey man, we're not here to judge.
Yeah. Anyway, they used to like, I worked at the beer store for a year, and they would come by and drop this stuff off. And many beer companies would do that, and that was the stuff I was like, no thanks.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Anyways, Tzeentch, much like Amsterdam, they love change. And thank you, Amsterdam, for changing. Because you make better beer now. And so this can manifest in many different ways. And I think we hinted before the podcast, we don't have this on the podcast, that is there any inherent evil in chaos is the question, right? Is like, Khorne sounds pretty much what we interpret as evil, but is there any inherent evil in how, and in chaos in itself, if we could say it's a thing in itself, and who knows? So
I'm not. Yeah,
I think it's just a mirror.
Yeah,
and we're gazing into a mirror darkly.
Yeah, so if it's a perception of ourselves,
you're
like
such a Philip K. Dick.
So if it's a perception of ourselves, right? Tzeentch is actually he likes life because life is always changing, right? Like a child changes into a teenager, turns into a man, whatever. And so it's just this concept of change is what drives Tzeentch. The major motifs that come in and around this are sorcery and magic. And this particularly appeals to Tzeentch because this is affecting change of your own will, right? Like, change by aging isn't necessarily change that happens because you willed it to happen. Mm-hmm. But this is why sorcery and magic becomes the major theme for Tzeentch, is because this ability to change things of your own volition is what pleases him.
Yeah, it's a domination over state.
Yeah,
which
you
pleases.
have control
Tzeentch.
And so this is where like controlling people's fates and destiny becomes very appealing to this god, and deception then becomes a part of this kind of manifestation because of, I guess, the changing state of mind that occurs while the deception is happening and all this.
I always got a lot of vibes of like the Three Witches in Tzeentch, right? Like dealing with people's life strings and altering fate and
Yeah.
like very, very like ancient Greek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gods, yeah.
Tzeentch is the like in the meme world. It's the god of just as planned, right?
Yeah.
Like where silly
With
things.
the evil laugh at the end.
Like thousands of years of plotting and
Yeah, just so like one book falls on one scholar, so it caves in his head. Like,
or he opens it and goes neat, and then accidentally summons a demon.
yeah, just crazy dumb stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. So some of the followers of Tzeentch that we come across, this can divide into kind of two categories, which is like the warp entities of Tzeentch that manifest into kind of material universe, but then also the followers of Tzeentch on, I guess, the human side. So the Marines that eventually turn, most notably the Thousand Suns Space Marine chapter, and
Magnus did nothing wrong.
Magnus did so much wrong. Shouldn't have been busting through the webway like that.
Can't listen to your dad.
Yeah.
No matter what.
I mean, no.
If your dad is a horrible person, you probably should not listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And is telling you to do horrible things. But
That sounds like the Emperor. Go commit genocide in my name.
Our name.
Anyways.
yeah, so how about a question for you guys? What is your favorite Tzeentch demon?
Oh, definitely the Flamers.
Okay. Yeah, why?
Just because the idea of like this swirling mass of like gibbering teeth that shoots out fire is horrifying to me. And like it's weird warp fire. They don't seem to have a form, which I always really thought was like a cool way to portray a demon. So yeah, that was just the cool thing. How about you?
It's not specifically Tzeentchian, but I think Tzeentch makes more of these than any other god, and that's just the Chaos Spawn.
Definitely.
Like, it's just like, hey, you're going for all that unlimited power. Oh, you misread a word, and now you're a spawn. Or I think there was a power in the 5th or 6th edition Chaos book where a Chaos Sorcerer of Tzeentch could turn somebody into a spawn, could turn an enemy character into a spawn, and it's just such a funny, weird, because like we're talking about like apotheosis, right? And one of the things I think we've skipped over is why humans worship, or why anybody worships the Chaos Gods, and that's the promise of power and the promise of attaining being the perfect warrior, or having all of the forbidden knowledge, and becoming a demon prince essentially is the end goal. And if you slip up, or if you piss Tzeentch off, if he's going to turn you into a spawn, he's going to have a plan for you. Maybe his plan was for you to be a spawn all along.
Yeah.
But spawn are terrifying, because you talked about gibbering masses of teeth.
Yeah. Like, I've never seen a Chaos Spawn model that I liked, because there's nothing...
You're not supposed to.
Yeah. No, but I mean that I've, like... there just doesn't exist a good model for it. It's just...
Yeah, no, they don't. They're super weird.
Yeah.
So in my research of Tzeentch, I came across the story of the Blue Scribes, which I found incredibly fascinating. So essentially, the 3 other Chaos Gods teamed up against Tzeentch because I forget the exact motivation. Maybe they're getting worried about his power and control over everything, because that's what Tzeentch likes to do.
Well, he would instantly try and have them like war against each other, and the only way to like defeat that is to work together,
to team up. Yeah. So things came to a headway. Tzeentch was realizing that he was going to be overpowered, and the the staff that he wields is like his signet of power, and probably actually gives him power. He smashes it and scatters it throughout the galaxy, and this is all these pieces essentially become people's ability to like use sorcery and magic, and so he's I guess the Changer of Ways wants his staff back at a certain point, and so he picks these two blue horrors, which essentially he picks two blue horrors because they're too dumb to realize the power that they hold as they run around the galaxy gathering these the names or just the list of all the spells that are out there, all the magic spells that are out there.
Yeah.
Because each one is essentially a shard of the staff, and so if they can manage somehow to get all of these scattered pieces throughout all the galaxy, then the Changer of Ways will have his staff back, and be all powerful again. Which I don't know if he actually hopes that they'll ever accomplish their mission or not, but
the funniest part of that
Is one can't read.
and the other can't write.
there you go.
They have to write all of these spells into a book.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Also, big ups to the changeling that he just is a Tzeentchian agent that impersonates people and sows chaos, and most recently was able to get the Dark Angels to fire on the Space Wolves and pretty much destroy Fenris.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in charge of that.
Mm-hmm. So
That guy's crazy, yo.
oh yeah,
One of my favorite stories, and Nick, I asked you to tell this story before we started the podcast, is when it shows kind of the hidden motivation of Tzeentch at a certain level, and just how far Tzeentch is willing to go to accomplish what he wants. But the story of the Grey Knights destroying lots and lots of people.
Was that yours, Paul?
no, it wasn't mine.
I don't know if you remember this, but yeah. So I remember it on a basic sense, but the Grey Knights basically knew the Changeling was on this Imperial world, and so sent an exterminatus fleet to track it and change it down. That doesn't make sense.
Change it down.
Change
it down. Yeah,
That's what the Changeling was doing.
That's what the Changeling was doing.
Yo, let's get changed down.
And they just kept hunting it through the streets, and eventually went full virus bomb exterminatus, and the Changeling just ended up on a transport out of there. So they killed an entire planet to kill this thing, and this thing just was like, yep, great.
But also-
And all for the purpose of, because the Grey Knights essentially kill a whole bunch of Imperial citizens who are essentially loyal, right? They're innocent victims in all of this, and the whole plan was to have a single Grey Knight, for a slight moment, question if that was the right thing to do.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. And Khorne's really happy now.
Yeah, it's like, neat. Corn's down with it.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll touch on is just the realm in which Tzeentch resides, and it's basically this massive crystalline world, this maze, if you will, that's just all different colors of crystal. This is why you see a lot of the models, especially the demon models, in multicolor, rainbow-esque schemes. One to represent the change in color, but also just because it gets crazy in there, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, and so the whole idea is all the other realms of chaos are kind of guarded, and they'll fight you off if you enter, right? Especially Khorne. It's like, oh, you're here to fight. Great. Good talk. Let's do that thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Whereas Tzeentch just welcomes you right in.
Okay.
He's like, come on in. And you eventually just get lost. You just get lost in the realm, and you slowly descend into madness.
As you just try and find your way
out or wherever you're trying to go. Or,
meanwhile, your reality's fracturing like light through a prism.
That's it. Exactly. You got it. And so often a lot of the exit points to the maze lead into the other realms of chaos. Mm-hmm. And so you come out the other end, all of a sudden you're in the Khorne realm facing up against the blood god, but you're like out of your mind, and so you can't even deal with it, and then you just get axe to mouth.
Yeah. Oh.
Which was a band name that I used to use touring around Toronto.
Oh,
there you go.
axe to mouth.
Yeah.
Rough. Well,
anyway, so there you go. So that's Tzeentch for you.
One of the other realms that you might pop out of is you might find yourself in the Garden of Nurgle.
Is that close to the maze?
I mean, the maze is close to everything.
Well, close only counts with horseshoes and hand grenades.
That's true. Which is
Hey-o.
the name of a beer.
Beautiful. Let me introduce this. This is another one of the fabulous beers from Ottawa, coming out of Dominion City. This is an IPA. Just for you, buddy.
Okay, I mean, I don't know how that became a thing.
The quote on here is
The beard and the thick rim glasses and the biking. At least you don't smoke Slims and wear skinny jeans.
I wear skinny jeans.
Yeah, he does.
Have you seen these legs?
And you wear Bloodstones.
Those are just good
You
boots.
don't have any tattoos.
No tattoos.
His jeans are so skinny he can't fit the Slims in his pocket. This has a quote on here. The tyranny of small differences.
Nick said, except for one, everybody.
Crisp and juicy, this IPA is replete with mango and cantaloupe hop flavor balanced against subtle grain maltiness.
Hey, why did the melons get married? Because they can't elope.
Hey,
But
did I tell you the one about the corduroy pillow?
no, you didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's making headlines, bro.
Did that come with your daughter? When you
Yeah, gift of purchase.
there you go.
You know, you just want a really bad joke?
Yes.
Why is it called boob sweat and not humidititties?
Go to hell. Just go to hell, Nick. Okay, so now we're talking about the third born of the Chaos Pantheon, Big Papa Nurgle. We've already covered him like pretty in depth in the Death Guard episode, but a couple of things to note. Sacred number is 7. That's a great number.
It's the average on 2 dice rolls.
Yeah.
What are the numbers of the other ones?
Let me see that.
Let's
Let me
catch
see that
up.
beer.
Khorne is 8, as I mentioned. I think Tzeentch is 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 7. In numerology, it's like a big one just because it's the sum of like 3 of your aesthetic, beautiful things. So 4 and 3. But I don't know numerology that well. What?
I don't understand.
Like the just design elements of 3 look nice. Design
Oh,
elements
okay.
of 4 look nice.
Gotcha.
And then there's just like other magical things about it, but I don't know that. Yeah, so he was third to the party,
Okay.
and the reason to get back to like why you would worship a chaos god, Nurgle's kind of the like most insidious about the way that he gets your worship. And basically, he has plagues that are going through the material universe. You get one, and one of the ways to alleviate the pain is to pray to Nurgle about this. So that's how a lot of his followers get started. Most notably, the entire Death Guard Legion. That's what happened to them. They were lost in the warp. They got infected by the Destroyer Hive? Or the Destroyer Plague. I think that makes sense. And just they were bloated. Their armor started to melt to their bodies. Like armor plates distended. Guys would mutate like fly eyes and horns and just bad shit, man. So they turned to Nurgle.
My skinny jeans are stuck to my legs.
Oh no! So they like sort of they turned to this warp entity that they kind of identified that was doing this to them, and that's where they, you don't get better. You just kind of get used to Nurgle. So his reputation is often that he's the most cheery and the most like jocular and jovial.
He's the grandfather.
Yeah, but he is so creepy when you look at it that like, he forces you to do this.
Well, he's the god of life and death.
Yeah,
Because from death comes life.
yeah,
But
it's
it's weird.
yeah, it's
got like 18 eyes.
it's a rebirth, and that's why Tzeentch doesn't like him because he's like, no, this is an unchanging cycle. Like this is a set order. So like,
just a note on that. The two Chaos Gods that Tzeentch does like is number one, Khorne, because this is how I read it, because he's the easiest to string along.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
And then the other is Slaneesh, because when you're seeking pleasure and desire, that's also an easy way to string people along. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So it's like, it's not like I like you because we're buddies. It's like I like you because you fall for all my shenanigans.
yeah, it's the reason that Draco Malfoy hangs out with those two dumb kids.
One of them became changed races, right?
Yeah, I think so in the movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did that a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problems with Harry Potter, and we can save that for Inches and Potter, the Harry Potter podcast.
I never got past the 5th book, so
I never read one of the books.
they weren't bad.
Like, I'm sure they're great, and if I ever have a kid, I'll read them to them. But, anyways, yeah. So that's sort of how Nurgle works. Like, he infects you, and he's like, "Man, I can help out," which is like a really bad, like, abusive kind of system to have. Which kind of like goes towards one of the more famous elements of Nurgle and his interaction with the Eldar pantheon. So Nurgle rescued the Eldar goddess of the harvest, Aisha, from being devoured by Slaneesh. So, you know, it was like solid good guy thing. He probably like rode up and was like, "Milady, come with me." And
Totally has a neckbeard and a fedora.
oh yeah.
Neckbeard, yes.
Oh yeah. And now he like has her locked up, and because of her, like, you know, she's a goddess of the harvest, and like if you've read any mythology, like harvest deities have this like birth cycle, sort of life cycle, and they're eternal but cyclical. And so he's always like brewing up these like gross plagues, and he infects her with it. And depending on how she reacts and how long it takes her to cure herself, he's like, "That was a good one," or like, "That was garbage. I'm going to go back to my cauldron." But what she does is whispers cures and remedies to mortals. So she's like this subversive prisoner thing, and that's how she's like imparting influence on the material world. And I just kind of really like that as a mythology story. It's kind of Orfeo and Eurydice's sort of thing. Like, you have this princess in an underworld. And
it's a weird double-edged sword because she can't leave.
Yeah.
If she ever leaves the garden, because she's not trapped in a cage. She's like in Nurgle's garden.
Yeah.
If she ever leaves, Slaneesh will kill her immediately. So she's actually, like, there's a weird relationship there because she doesn't seem to hate Nurgle.
Yeah.
It's like, as a god, she understands that this is a primordial force and it's not going away, and so they're together in a weird way.
Yeah,
I mean, Zeus had sex with a lot of weird stuff. God love is weird, man.
Oh man, my friend has a podcast that if you like mythology, you should check out called
Goose. Zeus turns into a goose?
No, let's talk about myths, baby.
Okay.
And yeah, her whole thing is like, anytime she brings up Zeus, she's like kind of mad about it, because it's like, what did Zeus transform into this time? Was it a golden shower? Was it a bull? Was it a flock of geese?
Don't have sex with it. I'm gonna have sex with it. Don't. I already did.
I don't know why you're having this conversation, because I already banged that mountain. Like, that's Zeus's thing. He's the worst. But yeah, so again, the god of change, the god of what?
Hercules.
Oh yeah, why they chose to do it. Hercules is a whole shit ton of problems himself.
Good Disney movie though.
Great Disney
It's a really
movie.
great Disney
Also
movie.
weirdly accurate. Like, they obviously leave out a lot of stuff about him like killing his wife. But
Hades is great.
yeah.
Hades was a great bad guy.
Yeah. Sadly, James Woods, real piece of shit.
He went off the freaking deep end, man.
Yep. That's the guy who did the voice. Yeah. Yeah, not a lot more to say about Nurgle. He's the chaos god that GW is pushing the hardest lately.
Yeah.
So, like, do you want some Plague Marines? Because you're getting Plague Marines. What about Plague Marines? Plague Marines are coming at. You know what? Do, like, weird crawlers. You're getting crawlers.
Great models.
Great. excellent models. Mortarion is great.
I love that they're putting in the kind of more heresy-looking style to all of these models, because that's what they should be.
Yeah.
They've been stuck in the warp since the Crusades, since the turning.
Well, the Death Guard proper, right? Like Renegade chapters will have new stuff, but
Yeah, Death Guard proper should be like that.
they have Cataphractii Terminator armor.
They do. That's really cool.
The only Chaos guys who do, because nobody else has it
So far. They're redoing everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's going to have it. So that's not a whole lot more to say. If you're curious, go back and listen to our Death Guard episode about Nurgle. He's just a bit of a... he's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about the youngest, the new kid on the block.
Yeah, so I picked Slaneesh because that's the homeboy that my Emperor's children worship. I did a lot of research, guys, so I hope you're ready for this. So Slaneesh is known by a few names: She Who Thirsts, the Devourer, and just Slaneesh.
Yeah,
friendly neighborhood chaos god. So Slaneesh is formed from hedonism, excess, love, creativity, perfectionism, obsessiveness, attention whoring, jealousy, sensuality, drugs, empathy, self-expression, individuality, art, music, joy, and admiration.
Okay, so me.
Quite literally the god of sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Woo!
So you might notice there are some actual positive attributes in there.
Uh-huh.
But this is where the Chaos Gods, and especially Slaneesh, kind of like really get into an interesting way of looking at things. Is when you take things to an extreme, they become dangerous. Like love becomes obsession and stalking and just unhealthy. The pursuit of joy, wanting admiration, love. Yeah, it's bad. Because we're humans, and especially this is why Slaneesh has such a big impact on humanity. All of this kind of stuff really affects our brain chemistry.
We just want to be loved.
You just want to be loved, but just like an addictive drug, once you get something, and let's say you want that love, and you're a musician, and you go up and you play in front of a crowd of people, and you love it, that's not going to be enough for you. The next time you do it, next time it has to be a full bar,
A bigger crowd,
and a bigger crowd, and then you got to do sold out stadiums, and eventually everything just becomes dull and nothing. And so you have to just pursue this just pursuit of excess until you can't actually do anything anymore.
Until you've cut your face off, and now there's a speaker where your mouth used to be.
He's got the sense of it, yeah. So, as Paul said, Slaneesh is the youngest god. So, as the Eldar kind of reached the peak of their civilization, they developed cults of pleasure that kind of eschewed everything else and went for just,
Hedonism.
Just pure hedonism.
Hedonism extraordinaire.
Yeah, extraordinaire.
Yeah, and like that has like your parallels with your Sodom and Gomorrahs, your Atlantises, depending on if you believe that ever sunk or it just turned invisible. Damn. Sorry.
No, the Bosphorus.
Is that a thing like flat earthers? They're just
It's up there.
The Bosphorus just blew open, and the Black Sea just got twice as big in like 3 days. That's where all the Great Flood myths come from.
Yeah,
which is really cool. But yeah, so once they stopped worshiping the Eldar gods, and they went after this quest for excess, and they became evil. They basically became the Dark Eldar. So you had all the Exodite warriors and all of the Craft World guys leave the Khorne world, as they were. And then Slaneesh was born out of the heart of the Eldar Empire and created the Eye of Terror. So the Eye of Terror, as we know, was created by Slaneesh.
You know what it sounded like? Here's a dry hop sour from Side Launch. Who brought this guy?
me.
Oh,
Because I was getting too much shit about just drinking IPAs.
It's a very red can.
It's a very red can. I like it.
Thanks, Paul.
No problem. I discovered it this weekend when I was told not to get IPAs.
By who?
I wanted to get beer for a couple of people, and was just like, don't get IPAs.
Somebody else told you that?
Yeah.
So it's not just me.
No.
It's not just me making fun of you.
No.
You've created a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm glad to see it's not just me.
Anyways, it was pretty tasty. We went to like this weird party. A friend of mine rented a church on John Street, and we just partied in the courtyard, like the church garden. It was really nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, like,
How is that as a sour?
I wouldn't even call it a sour. Like a light sour?
It's pretty subtle, soury taste.
Yeah.
It's not bad though.
No, I like it. It fits in with the other side lunch.
Yeah.
Like a lot, which is what I liked about it.
Inside Lunch is, for those of you interested, it's right here in Toronto, right? Is it?
No, it's Collingwood.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
If you're like me, you're getting them confused with Left Field, which I always do.
Oh, the Junction one has a train on it.
Right.
The silhouette of a train. This has a silhouette of a boat.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Look at that. That's not how. Anyways,
That's a metal boat.
Oh,
It is a metal boat. It's not a stone boat.
Nick, you were saying something about gods.
Yes, the
Yeah.
forming of the Eye of Terror.
Yeah, so 95% of the Eldar race died immediately.
Oh, it's gotta suck.
And, well, not immediately. Consumed 95% of their empire. And as the Eldar race is highly psychically attuned, they really, really felt this. And the corruption of Slaneesh spread echoes of ecstasy and agony throughout their entire empire. And whoever survived the initial kind of like explosion of warp energy basically screwed and ate each other to death.
Rude.
So worlds burned, and they laughed as their empire burned around them. So Slaneesh was able to kill most of the Eldar gods. Asurian, Kurnos, Lilith, Mora, Hag, and Vol all died. 3 that survived were the Laughing Gog, Sagorach, who was basically like, I'm out, and just left into the webway. Khorne showed up and demanded Slaneesh hand him Cain.
Yeah.
It's like, this belongs to me. He is a god of war, and he is my property. So Slaneesh had to give up Cain, and I think that started that rivalry. And Nurgle showed up and stole Isha away, as Paul previously mentioned. So because of this, all Eldar souls belong to Slaneesh, and if an Eldar dies without a soul stone, the Slaneesh consumes its soul for all eternity. And Dark Eldar have found a way to inflict pain and anguish on others to stop that from happening.
Which,
We talked
like,
about Dark Eldar before, yeah.
yeah, which is like super fucking cool. Whoops.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. I've always liked the Dark Eldar fluff.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
It's like, that's why they're all like torturing and mad, and
Yeah.
they're like trying to release the whatever's going on with Slaneesh and them, and
Because
they
they don't
release it onto someone else.
Yeah,
and then
they don't have soulstone technology, so they're kind of always being siphoned.
Right.
Or they don't use it. I don't know the reason, but it's just that they've found like a better, or for in their mind, like a better solution, where it's like, well, these beings are beneath us, so we're just going to do this to them. So yeah, it's you're privileging your existence over something else. Like
Yeah.
no problem, not a problem for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So his relationship with the other gods is kind of weird because he's really feeling off that power of desire and obsession, which obviously all the other 3 gods have in abundance. So every time Khorne is obsessed with bloodlust, Tzeentch with scheming, and Nurgle with spreading of plagues, Slaneesh grows stronger. And they're worried about that. None of them really want him to be their ally because I think they view their own end in him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a kind of a cool character. He's represented as... Originally, he was kind of represented as a hermaphrodite, which is kind of like fallen out as time has gone on. And he's basically... has basically turned into whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
Whatever you view as attractive, it's going to twist your nipples in all the right ways every time you look at it.
Yeah, and like I think with that, like that representing like male and female gender was sort of supposed to be like a shifting spectrum of like what people like. It was alluring to all people. I think that was the design aesthetic, and you know that still exists a little bit in the demonettes, but the Slaneesh demons have gone way closer to like more androgynous sort of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his world, his demon world, is the Palace of Slaneesh. So he does not try to keep anybody out. He invites them in. And to get to him, you have to pass through 6 circles or 6 excesses in the Palace of Pain. And they'll all test your resolve, and you're probably not going to make it through it. So first you have the excess of riches, which is basically everything your heart desires in a material form. And if you fall prey to that, you're not going any further.
Nope.
There's the excess of sustenance, which is basically gluttony for food and wine.
That's what gets me.
Yeah, the diagnosis, man. Diagnosis is right here.
Is this the very essence of this podcast mean we all fail?
Shh, no.
The excess of bodily delights, so that's just sex, and more sex.
Okay, here's the thing. Slaneesh, I got a note. You put the sex one before the food one. Alright? That's date 101. Just saying. Don't fill up on pho and then go home.
It's tough when you go out for a nice dinner and you're like, do I want to have dessert or do I want to have sex?
I'm just saying. Don't go for the second bowl of pho, you maniac.
It's
Second bowl of pho. Jeez.
Yeah.
It's pho, by the way.
Listen, there's nobody in Vietnam going, it's actually meatball sandwich. So I don't mind. I don't mind this.
I had a banh mi for dinner. It was great.
Yeah, they're good.
There's a great place across the street.
Okay.
What's your favorite pho place in the city?
Man, I like Phoenix down on College and Brock, and then there's one right across the street that's also good. I forget the name of it.
Nice.
Pho Huang down here on Pacific.
I'm never gonna go to that.
It's just fantastic. And I keep telling you, you got to come over. We'll go to Chica's Chicken and get spicy fried chicken.
I do like. Man, I went to a good fried chicken place down on the lakeshore. We went and did this boat tour on Sunday, and it was just called Joe Bird. Terrible name, awful like restaurant design inside. There was a DJ.
Where was it?
It's just like down in one of those like weird little strip malls down on the lake. Not like a strip mall, but like
Give us a north-south street.
it's a little bit west of. It's a little bit west of Union's. Like it's
So like close to downtown.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Harborfront area.
yeah.
Oh, so you mean like the condo strip?
Yeah.
It's all the retail space in the bottom condos. Gotcha.
Yeah, but it was like facing the water. It was really nice and really good fried chicken. Again, they're horrible inside and the service was trash, but the chicken, my guy.
But Chica's Chicken was just voted the best fried chicken in the entire city.
Okay.
And I said this on the podcast before. Their chicken was so spicy, I had to take my shirt off to finish it, and it was worth it. It wasn't like, oh, my mouth is on fire. It's just like, oh my god, I'm so sweaty.
Yeah, I don't want that.
It's good.
Where is this?
It's Dundas and Keel.
Chica's Chicken?
And the best part is you can go get their chicken as takeout, and then just go to People's Pint. And then
Right, because they don't do food there.
They
right?
don't
So
do
you
food
just-
there, so they're just like, yeah, I want one of everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
We can make a date of it.
Okay. So the next excess is
Speaking of excess,
Yeah.
let's
Is-
go on a day and eat
is-
fried chicken.
adoration. So this is appealing to somebody's need to be recognized.
Yeah.
So this is what gets a lot of people who are like very upright morally.
Witness me!
Yeah. So it's about glory. It's about getting adoration. Government, churches, cults all seek approval from their followers. Even fathers want their children to look up to them. And it's bad. This is where a lot of people fall. Then there's the excess of achievement. So when the corpse god created the Space Marines, legend has it that he faced the difficult task of engineering a warrior that was eager to serve him through great deeds and heroism and by achieving the impossible in his name. So the soldiers needed to be humble enough to realize the victory earned in the name of the Empire is not personal, that they are simply weapons to be wielded in his hands. That didn't happen.
No?
No. You might have noticed that the Primarchs had a lot of daddy issues.
Yeah.
And it probably stems from this. And then there's the excess of repose. And this is just heaven.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is just like, give up life, give up whatever, and you will exist in the afterlife with all your desires.
You're satisfied.
Yeah, like all your earthly requirements is gone. It's a false heaven. And then finally,
that's not heaven.
It's a false heaven.
Yeah, it's something.
And then there's finally, once you've passed those 6, you get to the Palace of Pleasure. And then you have to deal with Keepers of Secrets and crazy stuff going on. There's no defenses. There's no legions of demonettes or demons riding out to meet you. It's just everything your heart could possibly desire. And yeah, he's very insidious.
It's the Aldous Huxley Brave New World version of Control, where it's like, here's everything that you could ever want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you ever want anything else? Spooky.
Yeah, it's good. So his followers are, as we know, demons. Super weird. Lots of crab motifs. Fetish gear. Slender, clawed, feminine. The Juan Diaz models are probably the coolest.
Yeah.
Those metal ones?
Yeah, the plastic... Sorry, not plastic. The pre-plastic demonettes that were a lot more feminine.
That generation of horror is also my favorite.
Yeah, the plastic ones aren't nearly as good.
Okay. They tried to do that throwback back to the original metal ones. Mm-hmm. I mean, same thing with the plastic demonettes, right? Yeah. They kind of tried to do the mix of the two.
Yeah, they lost a lot of the sensuality in them, though, I find.
Yeah.
They're 6 boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give me them weird cat boobs on a man with crab claws.
Yeah. So in game, they're super fast. There's a lot of abilities. There used to be a lot of abilities, and I know there is in Age of Sigmar, where Slaneesh demons can stop opponents from falling back.
Yeah.
Which is huge, right? Because we know that. I don't think that is in 40k, although I think the Mask, which is like a head demonette, can stop people from falling back.
They brought that mechanic in with the Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
The witches have a lot of... Actually, a lot of units have that, but the witches are particularly good at keeping you in combat.
I think just witches have it.
I can't remember.
We can look this up,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
we don't have to.
So a lot of their psychic powers are based on seduction powers. Then you have the Emperor's Children, 3rd Legion, Best Legion.
Really?
Taking the perfection thing way too far.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. So they revel in pleasure, being awesome at everything. Huge inferiority complex, and I think that's best personified by Lucius.
Yeah.
Just a huge he is a master swordsman and a really good leader, but it just wasn't good enough. So he constantly second guessed himself. Was never happy with where he was, even though he was a really, really good soldier and a great leader.
He's constantly tested himself.
Pushed himself further and further and further, and eventually was just seduced by Slaneesh into being one of his servants.
I forget which heresy book it is, but I love when he I think he challenges Loken to a fight. Loken steps in the practice ring and spars around for him a bit and punches him in the nose, and he's like, "Dang."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the only point that Loken gets, right? Loken gets pretty soundly defeated, but Lucius doesn't understand the idea of going outside of the martial.
Yeah, because it's like going to a fencing match and punching your opponent in the face.
Yeah,
like,
Loken's
cool, you won.
And neither of them can Loken's I don't know why you thought I did something wrong.
Yeah.
And Lucius is that's not how it's supposed to be. He's yeah, but you were winning, so I did a different way to win, and then I won.
Yeah.
And
but that's where it ends. It doesn't go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lays the finishing move, and like, and what's his name again?
Lucius.
Lucius gets all surly about it.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good scene.
And then one of my favorite non-Emperor's Children warbands is called the Flawless Host.
Yeah,
Really cool name, really cool paint scheme.
super pink and black, right?
No, it's like a very, very light pink with like purple tentacly highlights coming over their armor. So they believe themselves to be the embodiment of justice and purity in the Imperium.
Oof.
So once they were a loyalist Space Marine chapter known as the Shining Blades, their gene scheme was pure, no taint whatsoever. They had a rigid mental training regime, and they were just so good that they just kept winning victories, and they became totally unshakable in their faith, and were convinced they could do no wrong. And that went wrong, and they once invaded and killed like 10 billion people on a planet because the planet wasn't beautiful enough to the fleet as it passed by.
Like, the thing I love about Space Marines falling to chaos, like Renegade Chaos Space Marines, is that their falls are always these like weird moral plays, and it like, as a fiction writer, I feel like it must be an absolute playground to write that stuff, because it's such a great canvas for this weird conflict that like you're trying to like, oh, how do I show this? Oh, I've got an entire Space Marine Legion that can blow up planets. Like, you can punctuate these conflicts really nicely and loudly.
Yeah, and so we talked about the Emperor's Children a bit, but like their main, Slaneesh's main forces in 40k is Noise Marines, and they're what they are because they can't hear anymore. Right, like that. Like it was back to that thing that I talked about. Like you get too far, and what was great for you and got you off last week just isn't doing it anymore. And you bust out the nipple clamps, and then next week it's just not doing it for you. So you get out the hot wax, and it just keeps going and going.
Listen, don't you describe your weekends to me.
So yeah, that's Slaneesh in a nutshell.
Which is another thing that it really likes.
It's a good thing your girlfriend's not here for all this. Or was she your inspiration?
Oh, no comment.
There's no good way for me to answer that. Fair. So yeah, that's... I think, like, through this, you can really get an idea of why someone would be worshipping the idea of Chaos Undivided. Because Chaos Undivided is like finding a balance in complete madness.
Yeah, there was a great... remember when the old codexes had like really great short stories? They kind of moved away from that.
Yeah.
But there was a great short story I remember of a kind of like a feral tribe on a planet, and their first encounter with the Imperium, and they talked about the four Chaos Gods as the four winds that keeps it. It's like the wind that like fires up the warrior's heart, the wind that brings death so that new life may come, the wind that brings change so that we can improve, and the wind that stirs passion so that we may keep going as a species.
They just bombed the shit out of that planet.
Yeah. Well, no, because it talked about their meeting the Thunder Warriors, the Space Marines, and how they had to like summon their protectors to help destroy the invaders.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because like they were just like a normal human tribe that like a whole bunch of bloodletters showed up and killed the Space Marines and then left, and they were just like pretty normal,
pretty
feral people,
regular cool stuff.
Yeah,
happens for us all the time.
So yeah,
yep.
Chaos Gods.
Got anything to add there, Adam?
I'm probably not going to find something juicy fast enough, but I flipped over to the Undivided section in the Liber Chaotica.
Okay.
And anyway, there you go.
Okay, great.
That was fun.
Yep, I like the Chaos Gods. It's nice to have like a pure fluff episode every now and then. And if you don't like these episodes, and you've listened to all of it, that's your choice, man.
And make a comment. Tell us what to do next.
Yeah.
We're back!
For
Fun
time.
Yes, we got a little bit of a heavier one.
Okay.
For you guys. We're going to get into a concept of race and how it changes over 100 years.
Okay. Adam's opening up some hard liquor.
Something else that's heavy.
So, August 2nd, 1918. The end of the First World War is 3 months away. The Germans would have just launched their 100 Days offensive to almost shatter the Allies. At this point, I think it would have been failing, and the Allies would have been ready to regroup. And it's a blistering hot weekend in Toronto. It's Friday. It's hot. There's no air conditioning back then. People didn't wear a lot of deodorant. It would have sucked.
Yeah, it would have been very spicy.
Yeah. So,
real quick, Adam, what do you got here that I'm about to drink?
Yeah, so I had a friend come back from Iceland, a little vacation over there, and they brought Bjork.
Bjork?
Liqueur from
singer?
Icelandic birch. And there's literally a stick in the bottle.
Yeah. I said I like birch syrup. I've had straight birch syrup before. It's lovely.
This smells so medicinal. This smells like...
All right, down the hatch.
All right, well, get rid of the demons or whatever this is supposed to do.
Well, don't shoot you. You can sip it and enjoy it.
No, I'm glad I shot it.
That's way sweeter than I thought it would be.
Yep. That tastes like birch syrup.
Nick did pick Slaneesh.
Yep.
It's only...
Shoot it down so I can do more.
It's only 27.5% alcohol.
Yeah, it's a liqueur. It's not like a...
Yeah, and it's...
It's very sweet.
Yeah, it's way sweeter than I thought. It's kind of got some mezcal thing happening here, but not with that horrible, like,
that's the
armpit
stick
taste.
It's the fresh stick. more of a twig.
Yeah, good stick.
Yeah.
So you were saying it's
hot summer night.
Hot summer night in the 40s?
No, 1918.
1918.
So end of the First World War.
Thank you.
A Canadian soldier was on leave, and he was eating in a Greek restaurant along Yonge Street, because at the time, Greektown was about Yonge and Carleton. And he got drunk.
Hell yeah.
He got really, really drunk. And the owners kicked him out. Apparently they didn't do anything too bad. They were just like, guess what? You're drunk and you can't be in our restaurant right now. And really, really bad things happen. So this guy was, I'm not going to say his name, but it's here in the article if you want to read it. So yeah, got drunk, got kicked out. And he started talking, complaining, not blaming the Greek people, but the rest of the vets in the area and a lot of quote-unquote patriotic Canadians assumed that the Greeks kicked him out of the restaurant because he was a Canadian soldier. And at this time, Greece was seen as apathetic to the Alliance cause in the First World War. I don't know why, because the Greeks hated the Turks. The Greeks have hated the Turks for as long as the Turks have been a country and the Greeks have been a country, and the Turks were part of the Central Powers, and the Greeks and the Bulgarians and the Romanians had just endured centuries of Turk occupation.
Yeah, they probably didn't know that.
So Greece's king at the time was insisting on neutrality because it was the best strategic policy, because sandwiched between Italy and Turkey, if you said, we're with the Allies, meant you were going to get stomped, because that's what happened to them in the Second World War, so probably a good course of action. Mm-hmm. But a lot of Greeks, especially Canadian Greeks, had signed up with the Canadian Expeditionary Force. However, it's good to note that if they weren't born in Canada, they were not allowed to sign up because Greece was neutral, so they couldn't actually sign up for the forces for whatever reason. But a lot of Canadians in Toronto were not happy with Greek immigrants. It seems like people will look for any reason to hate on others. And they felt that young Greek men went about their business in high-visibility restaurants and public market jobs, and it made Canadians consider them ungrateful and not contributing to the war effort. Yeah, so it's just a terrible situation.
Yep.
And these false perceptions, combined with what we talked about before, served as kindling for a firestorm of hate, violent looting, and bubbling xenophobia in Toronto. So around 6 p.m. on a Friday, veterans began to gather outside the restaurant that this young private had been kicked out of, and just started throwing everything they could through the windows.
That's not a cool thing to do.
No.
That's rude.
So as they destroyed the windows, they climbed in, destroyed every scrap of furniture, counter, and then looted the kitchen. So as they told their fellow soldiers...
It was a Greek restaurant?
It was a Greek restaurant.
I mean,
Tonight,
there's a lot of good reasons to loot a Greek restaurant.
Yeah, man.
Like that tzatziki, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Spanakopita?
Oh,
Yeah.
put it in your mouth.
Just Euro, man. Just Euro. So yeah, the soldiers were saying they wanted to hunt Greeks.
Oh, frig.
So hundreds became thousands, and from the corner of Yonge and Carlton, they headed northwest to Bloor and Dufferin, destroying every Greek-owned business they came across.
Shouldn't do stuff like that.
By 1:20 in the morning, the mob had demolished an entire cafe, and of course the police sat back and did nothing.
Well, yeah. What are you going to do?
Police gonna die.
Well, also, they're probably like kind of like, well...
Yeah.
Yeah. If they're,
Traditional-
if they're down with that.
Well, the fact that a lot of Greeks are Orthodox probably doesn't help the
Also, what if I told you that traditionally, just people that enforce power structures don't help immigrants often? I mean, that's not my opinion. Read a book.
So they got so bad that the mayor actually had to enact one of the few instances in Canada where the riot act was literally called in, and military police were called in to put it down. But it's interesting because this kind of prompted a discussion in the Greek community that really made them realize how others were perceived. Because at the time in Canadian culture, they weren't perceived as white.
Yeah.
Which is super weird because Greeks are pretty white. They're a little swarthy.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, like it's funny because like my buddy like tells me about times that his grandfather told him like, oh, I remember like the year that like Greek people in Toronto became white.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So, you know, the idea of whiteness just is a weird construct. That doesn't really mean anything if it's mutable like that.
So this is a direct quote from the editor of the Omaha Daily News, which is the same time because this anti-Greek sentiment was going on all over North America. Herded together in lodging homes and living cheaply, Greeks are a menace to the American laboring man, just as the Japanese, Italians, and other similar laborers are. And he didn't write Japanese.
Oh, like...
The Ku Klux Klan went after the Greeks with a vengeance.
Like you're in bad company if like you've got a grand wizard on your side,
or a dragon,
or whatever D&D character named rank they have.
Yeah. So this is what actually created modern day Greektown.
Okay.
Because I don't think at the time the Bloor Viaduct had been built yet. I think that was a 1920s project. So the Greeks went across the Don Valley and made the Danforth what it is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because it's not kind of cool. Sorry.
Interesting.
It's interesting that the Greeks actually undertook in Toronto and North America undertook what they called a path to whiteness to better like show their support for Canadian and American society. And the Greek AHEPA, which is like the it's something to do with Hellenic society. The American Hellenic Educational Progressive Association sold the most war bonds in World War II.
Yeah, like it's...
So they went balls to the wall to become accepted in the Second World War.
Like, and you see this like sort of stuff with like immigrant populations all the time. Like when in New York, like the Irish, when they first started settling or like coming to New York, they were like treated very, very poorly. And their way to like combat that was like, and I don't think it was like an organized attempt, but so many Irish people became police officers because they were like, well, this is a way to exert power, and eventually they hit critical mass, and all of a sudden all of the people that were originally oppressing them were now being protected by the Irish, and they had to have a very different conversation because it was now like the enforcers of this power structure were the people that you were oppressing, so something's going to have to change.
Yeah, so it's important to remember that when we look back on like history that we're taught in high school, like integrating immigrant groups throughout history always appears seamless, right? Like the Ukrainians came over and settled the prairies, and the Irish came over and they built this. But a lot of times these immigrant groups had to fight, like literally fight, racial tension and violence to become accepted, and it's only time. Mm-hmm. It's not like one action leads to people accepting them as part of Canada. It's just over time that it's become accepted, and we're literally seeing the same rhetoric now, right? Like these people aren't going to assimilate. Well, we thought that 100 years ago, and Taste the Danforth is probably one of the coolest things in Toronto.
I mean, any street festival is my nightmare, but yeah, conceptually I agree with you.
Yes, it's not for you, but it's a great celebration of from a different culture. Although it has changed. They don't have the giant barbecue pits with the roasting quails.
Nah, give me that every time.
I miss that. You could just buy like a rack of like 6 quails for $20.
That's so many quails
and
for $20.
Sit there and eat them and take shots of ouzo.
There you go. Basically, any city-wide public event is like just has way too many people and not enough capacity to serve those people.
And like the city events have just become so homogenous, where it's like, I can get a corn dog, I can get a funnel cake, I can get a corn on the cob, and like. Yeah,
and we'll all get drunk, and then it's a thing.
That's why the Polish festival is probably the best one I've been to in recent years. We should go this year.
I would love to. I always go.
Yeah,
I go to Intersteer and eat some of their pig.
That place is cool. Just like it's like the same all the way around.
Yeah,
it's like the Tzeentch crystalline palace. You know?
I love that place. It's like one of my favorite places to drink, and all my friends are like, "Paul, this is just a fancy dive," and I'm like, "Guys, this is a fancy dive."
Yeah.
Yeah. No one said you have to be here. You get to be here.
Yeah. I'm gonna be here right now without you.
Yeah.
So final thought. So it's important to be vigilant and hold fast to the lessons of history that the anti-Greek riot brings us. That as welcoming and as accommodating as Canada can be, anti-immigrant sentiment is just as Canadian as maple syrup, and often just as sticky. It's a story that plays itself out generation after generation, and immigration wave after immigration wave. Unfortunately, we can never seem to remember what the riots already clearly told us. Given time, safety, and the essential instincts of immigrants' nature, everyone, no matter where you come from, can become part of our collective landscape.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Boom.
Bam. Good night.
I'm an ambi clapper.